I've been working on a jumpsuit that's ready for some field testing. You can't cloak.
Fair enough.
It'll let you jump like one of those Reaper guys.
Well, I can't say no to that.
Agreed. Gonna have me some fun.
Before we begin, it's time for another poll. Since you psychos keep voting for Starcraft 2, it's Warcraft 3 challenges only this time. Also, can we get to 2,000 subs by next March? Probably not, but give it a go anyways. Now, Pi, you may say, this is the Zerg campaign. Zerg don't use Reapers, not even infested ones. Well, you see, by bending time and space, I've inadvertently gained access to the Terran tech tree for this campaign. The rules are simple. Only use Reapers for combat. Honorary Reapers may be used when needed. For example, Jetpack Nova or units with jump jets. Missile turrets are allowed for defense. The run will officially begin with Rendezvous. The first mission I get Reapers. The run will start on Brutal, but let's be real, we ain't beating this shit on Reapers only. Rendezvous is batshit insane. Not only do I start with an amazing 0 Reapers, there's early marine attacks before I can build anything useful. So I lower the difficulty to hard, and what do you know, the mission's doable. Anywho, since my Reapers don't get any explosives or drugs, I need bunkers to keep them alive. It's difficult early on since I don't have enough barracks or boys to cover both entrances to my base, but eventually I secure both flanks and hold out until reinforcements arrive. Most of them are useless not Reapers, but I do grab a few jetpack boys all the same. To push through the cannon, I focus down the siege tanks and bunkers before ignoring the rest of my problems and diving the main objective. Harvester Scream starts me off with a sizable base. There definitely isn't a segment where I get 0 Reapers. Anyways, since the enemy has level 2 upgrades to my level 0 Reapers, I have to spend the first chunk of the mission building a line of bunkers to fend off early attacks. It doesn't help that the Ursidon periodically attack as well, forcing me to keep some Rebirds home for defense. I also need to use missile turrets to clear out enemy scouts and void rays, but eventually I push through the defenders, ending the mission. Shoot the Messenger gives me access to Jetpack Nova and jump jets. Now under the rules, they're honorary Reapers, what with their jetpacks and all, but to challenge myself, I hold off on using them for as long as possible. Using a mix of missile turrets and Reapers and bunkers, I fend off both ground attacks and the enemy shuttles. There's no point getting the bonus since they only give Goliath, so the bulk of the mission is just securing the warp conduits and building static defense. Fun fact, Reapers in Starcraft are dedicated scouting and harassment units equipped with jetpacks, demolition charges, and pistols. They were originally capable of flight, but due to frequent crashes and explosions, their packs were repurposed for jumping up cliffs. Dominion Reapers were recruited from those resistant to neural resocialization and suffered from a high casualty rate.
The Templar must be warned.
It's up to me now. I'm in.
Enemy Within is the first mission where I need to use Jetpack Nova. It's not truly doable since the gimmick is that Nova rescues allied not Reapers to fight the Protoss. There's too much to weed out the not Reapers, so I'm forced to push with them. In my defense, since I don't control them, it's not my fault they're not following the rules. Besides, Reapers are hardened criminals, breaking the laws in our blood. Anyways, the missions is pretty easy. Use flashbacks to stun, Nova to run, and win with gun. Waking the Ancient has a ton of Sky Zerg, including Guardians with outranged my missile turrets. So it's Jetpack Nova time. Now don't get too disappointed, cause Nova against Mass Muta Guardian is actually a terrible matchup. Who knew? While my Reapers mow down everything on the ground, Jetpack Nova loses real quick to Mass Muta. To counter this, I take advantage of their tendency to clump up, tossing grenades and sniping the Guardians. While Brack destroys a good chunk of Quillgore, my boys get the goods. The plan to fight Brack is to spam bunkers, then run like hell. Surprisingly, it works. The Crucible is batshit insane. Not only do I lose Jetpack Nova for the entire mission, but there's sizable air attacks as the mission progresses, so I do need to use Jump Jet Goliaths to hold out. Unfortunately, even the ground attacks are way too strong, so I also need Jump Jet Siege tanks to hold out. Unfortunately, even with all these honorary Reapers, there's simply too many enemies to hold out against them. It doesn't help that Goliaths suck at killing air units, which is the one thing I need them for. So after several hours of banging my head on this mission, I lower the difficulty to hard, and what do you know, it's totally doable. Anyways, despite the enemy breaching my defenses, my boys hold out and the mission ends. As a side note, I find it absolutely hilarious that the only thing this mission accomplishes is giving Nova blue hair. Fun fact, to reap what you sow is a saying used to describe one getting what they give. They're suffering as a result of their previous actions, so planting bad seeds means a bad harvest. One of the earliest sources of the saying is the book of Galatians, where the Apostle Paul explains that whatever a man sows, he also reaps. Domination is pretty easy. Once I get 100 eggs, Zagara gets tired and stops attacking. Using Jetpack Nova, I speed to the eggs while building up my Reaper count. Now, it may seem cheap to be using Nova for everything, but as a Reaper, I don't actually give a shit. After reaching 100 eggs, I hatch an army of Reapers, storm Zagara's base, and stomp on her face. Fire in the sky is pretty easy. I do need to use these not Reapers to blast the Gorgons, but I suppose these are just one-use jetpack launchers. The biggest counters to Reapers in Wings of Liberty were splash damage and air units, but thankfully Jetpack Nova easily counters both. With Nova to smush and my Reapers to push, I send one-way jetpacks up Warfield's tush. Old Soldiers is gonna be a doozy. I don't get Reapers in the initial attack wave, so I use Jetpack Nova to weaken the initial defenders. The subsequent waves do send in my boys, so I use those to clear the first area, but time runs out before I can make any more progress. Also, I gotta ask, why give Ravens on this mission? Wouldn't it make more sense to give an assault unit of some kind, say, one that excels at area control and can transform to evade nukes? Anyways, Reaper challenge, no time to question it. To push, I use the tried and true strategy of letting Nova do all the work while my Reapers provide moral support. Eventually, I breach Warfield's base, and the mission ends. Fun fact, the Reapers in the TV show Grimm are a group of bounty hunters dedicated to hunting the titular characters who are capable of seeing hidden magical creatures called Vessen. Reaper membership primarily consists of Hasliks, or trolls, who don black trench coats and wield scythes. Their favorite method of disposing of Grimm involves removing the head. Conviction isn't truly doable, but I do get Jetpack Nova, Reapers, and Jump Jet Goliaths and Hellbats, but these alone aren't enough to fight through the ship. So in classic Reaper fashion, I choose the easy way out and play normally. Infested is a weird one. First off, why am I given Liberators on the Spellcaster mission? Wouldn't it make more sense to get Raven's Ear? Anywho, Reaper only challenge, no time to question it. The Infested on this mission have been replaced with brainwashed civilians, which is equally horrifying and hilarious. Now, civilians aren't Reapers, but throwing bombs at your enemies sure sounds like a Reaper to me. With civilians as cannon fodder, Nova and the boys easily take the platform, ending the mission. Once again, Jetpack Nova with Snipe makes this mission incredibly easy. Nevertheless, a Reaper's a Reaper. Pushing with Nova, she easily drives off the enemy hybrids by outranging them. Eventually, after gathering enough of the boys, I fight my way to the final two hybrid, mowing them down. Fun fact, Gabriel Reyes, or Reaper, is a hero in Overwatch. He was originally part of the titular organization, but over time grew disillusioned with Overwatch's failure to stop global conflict, and eventually led a rebellion against them. While he seemingly perished in the fight, he later resurfaced as the edgelord Reaper. Phantoms of the Void forces me to fight without Jetpack Nova. Since Stone doesn't have a jetpack, he sits this one out too. The mission ain't truly doable since I need to shut down each temple using these not Reaper trucks, but nevertheless, I give it a go. Despite my weak starting army, I need to be aggressive to secure each temple. By using the expert tactic of running away from my problems, I clear out the defenders. When activating the temples, I use a mix of Reapers and bunkers and Jump Jet Goliaths to fend off the enemy. The enemy hybrid have splash damage and prioritize any units outside the bunkers, so once the Tal'Darim are cleared, I send most of my army back home. The bunkers fall, but not before each temple is deactivated, ending the mission. PLANETFALL is pretty easy. Jetpack Nova secures the landing sites while my Aroid Reapers defend against counterattacks. Once again, I gotta be careful not to lose Nova, as she's my only anti-air and my best counter to enemy bunkers and siege tanks. But eventually I secure the sites, win my fights, and say goodnight. Death from above ain't truly possible. I gotta use Tosh to destroy the power links.
What is that creature?
I suppose Tashi is the man who gave us Reapers in the first place, but I still don't see no jetpack. Anyways, the mission is pretty easy. Use Nova to take the expansion, defend with Roid Reapers, take out the power links. To push to the side destroyer, I use the expert tactic of letting Jetpack Nova do all the work. And she died. Well, time for the boys to do their thing. Fun fact, the Grim Reaper is a Marvel villain and brother of the anti-hero Wonder Man. not to be confused with Wonder Woman. Originally, he worked for the Magia crime syndicate. After his brother's death fighting the Avengers, he obtained a sight from the Tinkerer and swore revenge, but was beaten by the Black Panther. The reckoning is gonna be a doozy. I need to fight the Dominion's elite guard with Jetpack Nova and a handful of my boys. The good news is that I do have allies that can join the fight. The bad news is I need to keep Nova moving for the first half hour to both defend my base from air attacks and rein her from Meng's forces. To deal with the Odin, I called down my one-use jetpack, allowing me to finish him off from a distance. In the meantime, I build a force of Reapers to storm the southeast base. To push, I sacrifice as many of my boys to push through Dominion lines and release my allies into the map. Unlike the base campaign, my allies actually have upgrades that scale with my progress, allowing them to match the Dominion. While I lose Nova in the final push, my boys and allies bring down the gate, ending the mission. So can you beat Heart of the Swarm with Reapers only? Obviously not. I need to rely on missile turrets, Jetpack Nova, Jump Jet Goliath, Jump Jet Siege Tanks, Brainwash Civilians, Trucks, and Tosh to beat several missions in the campaign. It doesn't account for the missions that don't give me any Reapers and missions that start me without Reapers. But how many can be done with Reapers for combat? In total, 11 out of 20 missions can be done with Reapers and Jetpack Nova. If I include missions where I had to lower the difficulty, this increases to 12 out of 20. If I include missions where I had to use honorary Reapers like Jump Jet Goliaths and Siege Tanks, this increases to 14 out of 20. As Heart of the Swarm Reaper is based on the Covert Ops Reapers, it lacks the anti-structure attack and explosive spell and is thus overall weaker than its Wings of Liberty counterpart. It does have the advantages of combat stim and reactors to speed up production. I also get access to Jetpack Nova, Jump Jet Goliaths, and Siege Tanks, who admittedly trivialize the difficulty. But as a Reaper, taking the easy way out is perfectly fine by me, so if I see any sass, you can kiss my ass. Remember, Patroclus, shoutouts to Time, Gladys Marino, Appiac, Rich and Tuong, Scott Replinger, and Michael Phillips for supporting the channel. You all have big brains. Also, can we get to 2,000 subs? Sub you cowards. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, share, comment, subscribe, and launch one-use jetpacks to blow up your enemies.
Get too close to a black hole, and it will crush you.
Nothing I can't handle.
Gaze upon them. Primitive.
Yes, indeed.
The Void Thrasher must be dealt with soon.
On the way. I like you. That's why I'm gonna kill you last.